God on the Mountain at Shade Gap, Pennsylvania. This PowerPoint presentation was designed especially for the Nell Family 2025 Christmas Gathering at Shade Trees Getaway. Grandpa Ken Nell is the narrator. I researched and gathered information from numerous sources, online sites, and relied extensively on Google Maps for the locations and addresses. Although not an expert by any means on the subject, I made every effort to be as accurate as possible and spent long days doing research, compiling photos, organizing, and recording. I can only skim the surface of what took place in the story, and later in the presentation share some details that demonstrate God was definitely the God on the mountain. Before the mountains were brought forth, or ever you had formed the earth and the world, even from everlasting to everlasting, you are God. Psalm 90, verse 2. This sign near the cabin proclaims God's country. This beautiful aerial view of the Shade Gap countryside is a testimony of our God's power and presence in the mountains. For the God on the mountain is the God in the valley. When things go wrong, He'll make them right. And the God of the good times is still God in the bad times. The God of the day is still God in the night. Notice the rugged mountainous territory on this topographical map produced sometime before 1966. Some of the names have been since updated, and Route 522 straightened. Mountain Foot Road on the map is now Tannery Road. The yellow circle is where Shade Trees Getaway is located. The account you are about to hear takes place in an area covering a large segment of the map. Shade Trees Getaway is within the area covered by a man whom we will introduce to you later. In fact, it is very possible that he walked on the property on which the cabin is now located. You will recognize this photo as the front of the original cabin at Shade Trees Getaway. The Nell family wants to thank Gary Martin for the privilege of staying here. It was a challenge to get everyone positioned and smiling for the unmanned camera. The photographer is somewhere on the picture. Can you identify him or her? From where we sit, just 2 miles east along the power line, an event took place on May 11th, 1966 that continued for 8 days and beyond. It was followed in the news all over the country and around the world. Children are drawn to the screen. The next slide will be the beginning of an amazing story of God's presence on the mountains, including the mountain range west of the cabin. This is where the story begins on May 11, 1966. The school bus dropped off the Bradnick children at the end of the lane where it intersected with Pleasant Hill Road. They had a half-mile walk to their house. Peggy Ann, the oldest, was 17 and in 11th grade. Just out of sight of the main road, a man, partially hidden behind a tree, stepped out onto the lane. He wore drab clothes, had on goggles, and an orange hat. He pointed a sawed-off shotgun at the children, grabbed Peggy Ann by the back of the neck, and fled with her into the woods. Peggy Ann Bradnick was kidnapped. The children ran home to tell their dad. Their mother was away working at a cleaning job. Their dad told the children to stay in the house. He grabbed his gun and ran to the spot of the kidnapping, then into the woods, repeatedly yelling Peggy Ann's name. Peggy Ann heard her dad, but the man threatened to shoot her if she said anything. Eventually, her dad returned to the house and drove to town to tell the police. The chicken house is up the bank across the road from the Bradnick house. From the trees up the hill, they previously saw a man watching. Most likely, he was the kidnapper.
Peggy Ann Bradnick, returning to Southern Huntington County High School to finish her junior year after the kidnapping. So, you children, listening and watching, there's no need to get scared. The story turns out good for Peggy Ann. The 1966 calendar on the wall is showing the month of May. Grandpa Nell was 13 and in 8th grade. Our family was living in the recently built rancher along Stony Point Road. At that time, there were 6 children in the Nell family, 2 more to follow. We had a simple lifestyle, but lived comfortably in a new house. In the mountainous area of Shade Gap, people in general were not as advanced economically. Some, like the Bradnicks, still used outhouses and were poor, yet they were a close-knit community.
Peggy Ann's parents were Eugene and Mildred Bradnick. You can see the worried look on Mildred's face. Eugene was shot through his jaw during the Battle of the Bulge in World War II and earned the Purple Heart. When he came home drunk, he would beat his wife. Peggy Ann credits her survival with the kidnapper by what she learned from her mother's responses to her dad in those assaults. The investigators soon determined the identity of the kidnapper, William Diller Hollenbaugh, also called the Mountain Man and Bicycle Pete. There were previous incidents of shootings and robberies by this man. He was sent to jail at an early age, spent time in a mental institution, and knew the mountains like the back of his hand. The Mountain Man's shack was on a hill right along 522. He used a bicycle with a basket to get around. It is on display along with other items at the Mountain Man exhibit in the Pennsylvania State Police Museum in Hershey.
Hollenbaugh's shack was on the left bank in the photo above, where Wilson Lane, Old 522, intersects 522 today. In the right photo, his shack would have been somewhere in the center of the photo.
Early headquarters on the hood of a police cruiser near the Bradnick house. They later moved to Harper Memorial Park picnic grounds in Shade Gap. One day, Hollenbaugh and Peggy Ann walked the whole way to Shade Gap and observed the massive search headquarters from the back end of the picnic grounds without being heard or seen. Well over 1,000 men participated in the search for the Mountain Man and Peggy Ann. Local and state police, FBI agents, the National Guard, and armed volunteers, along with tracking dogs and helicopters. It was the largest manhunt in U.S. history up to that point in time. National Guard troops called to the scene. The tracking dogs and bloodhounds were thrown off by the mountain man's maneuvers. He would go up the mountain and retrace his steps back down to a stream and then travel through the water to a different location. Hollenbaugh and Peggy Ann came very close to the searchers on a number of occasions, but he threatened to shoot her if she yelled or made any noise. Dogs used to track the trail of Peggy Ann and the mountain man. This scene is on Route 522 in the area of Hollenbaugh's shack. An off-duty trooper stands on milk cans to get a better view of his surroundings. This alert man found a higher elevation. After all the walking and climbing, this search party took time to rest. Checkpoints were set up to make sure Hollenbaugh and Peggy Ann did not leave the territory. The mountain man's shack is in the background. The first FBI agent on the scene was Terry Anderson, who diligently did all he could to find and rescue Peggy Ann. Terry Anderson, Tom McGinn, and his German Shepherd tracking dogs were led to where Hollenbaugh and Peggy Ann were hiding in the thick undergrowth just west of the cabin. When Terry Anderson came into view a few yards away, Hollenbaugh stood up and opened fire, hitting Anderson in the chest. He also killed a tracking dog and wounded the other. He managed to get Peggy Ann away from the area, and they escaped. The picture is of FBI agent Terry Anderson standing at the Shade Gap command post prior to the search that ended his life. The lower left photo is of a dog trainer, Tom McGinn, called in special from the state of Colorado, with the body of his dog, Wide, killed at the same location as Terry Anderson. Terry Anderson's sacrifice is remembered as a significant event in FBI history. He left behind a wife and 4 children. His son, Michael Anderson, also became an FBI agent and has spoken publicly about his father's legacy. Here, the body of Terry Anderson is being placed in an ambulance after being carried to the mountain man's shack. The cabin up the lane from Rubeck's farm, where Hollenbaugh hid in the attached bathroom and shot and wounded Francis Sharp. Francis was shot in the midsection and severely wounded, yet forced to get in his car with Peggy Ann on the floor in the back under Hollenbaugh's feet. Notice the farm lane from the cabin where Hollenbaugh shot Francis Sharp and made him drive to Route 522 and the Rubeck farm below. The Pennsylvania Turnpike is behind the row of pine trees. Here's the bridge along the lane where Francis got out of his car to open the gate. The gate is viewed from 522 today, with the bridge in the background. Francis got out of his car at this location and ran toward a police cruiser on 522, yelling that Hollenbaugh was in the car. The 2 state troopers then opened fire. Hollenbaugh dragged Peggy out of the car, down the bank, into the creek. They ran behind some sheds to a gate by the barn on the left. He then, using Peggy as a shield, made a beeline across the road toward the house where he was shot and killed. The gate is on the left in the foreground, the barn on the left in the background, and the house across the road. Peggy believes the mountain man's intent was to make it to the turnpike behind the house and hijack a car. She then could drive him to Mifflintown to start a new life, which was the reason for her kidnapping. Hollenbaugh was shot at the side of Larry Rubeck's farmhouse. You can see where the porch shown on the next slide was once connected. After Hollenbaugh dropped, she ran for her life around the back of the house and pounded on the locked door. She then squeezed between the door and the screen door until 2 FBI agents came to get her. Pennsylvania State Police in front of Larry Rubeck's farmhouse after Hollenbaugh was shot. Larry Rubeck, owner of the farm, argued that he was the one who shot Hollenbaugh, but the state police take the credit based upon their investigation. The shattered window of the house is from Larry's shot. Here's a photo of Hollenbaugh's retrieved belongings. Notice the wire apparatus with a wood ball on the white paper. He stuffed this in his mouth to fill out his sunken cheeks because of his rotted teeth. Peggy Ann met the press on May 20th in a wheelchair at the Fulton County Medical Center in McConnellsburg. She was there for 2 weeks and discharged on May 31st. Hollenbaugh forced Peggy Ann to walk and run over rugged territory for over 100 miles during those 7 or 8 days. Her feet were raw when she was finally rescued. After gaining strength from her ordeal, Peggy was asked to accompany investigators to the locations she was taken by Hollenbaugh. He had a number of places where he hid and stashed goods.
Peggy Ann's first marriage was on March 23, 1967, to Darrell Logan at the Pleasant Hill Church. Her second marriage to Albert Jackson was sometime in the 80s after her first husband died of cancer. This is a 2006 photo.
This is a picture of the Pleasant Hill Cemetery at 22615 Pleasant Hill Road, Burnt Cabins, where Peggy Ann's parents are buried. The Pleasant Hill United Methodist Church, not pictured, is where Peggy Ann attended growing up and where she was married. Peggy Ann's aspiration was to have recognition given to the FBI agent who died in an effort to rescue her. Her goal was finally realized with a marker placed right along Route 522 at the Shade Gap Presbyterian Church, 11700 Town Hill Street. A close-up of the marker is on the next slide. FBI Special Agent Terry Ray Anderson, 1924 to 1966. The mountain man, reeked, had just black stubs for teeth, and his breath was as foul as his language. He screamed, shouted, slapped, kicked, and beat Peggy Ann. He spit in her face and then rubbed it around with the palm of his hand. He yanked her hair and grabbed her cheeks that hard she felt like he would rip the skin right off of her face. She felt the mountain man was possessed and as evil as any man could be. Everything he did indicated a drive for control of Peggy Ann and the world around him. He would throw fits of anger and rage, curse and swear at her. She was confined by a chain, and he never let go of it. When struck by his hand, it was followed by a blow to her side from the heavy links. Her feet became raw from the almost constant running and walking. He drove her up and down the mountains day and night, rarely stopping for more than a few minutes. There was no time for any real sleep. Yet, even at a young age, she realized that hatred for this wicked man would harm her more than anything he could do to her. God on the Mountain. Peggy Ann's account has many indicators of God's presence and direction in her life. One that stands out is the comforting voice she heard at different times during her excruciating ordeal. One night, sometime after midnight, near Gobbler's Knob, they stopped a few minutes at a sawmill. She noticed a big sawdust pile that, because of its rotting action in the damp weather, was releasing a thick, rising vapor. In the mist, there was a man standing on top of the pile. He wore a robe, and his arms were outstretched. Peggy could make out his long hair and beard, but his features were not distinct, and he had no recognizable face. Then she heard him speak, and recognized immediately that it was the voice she had been hearing for the last several days. "You'll be all right," he said in a comforting voice. "You've been faithful. You've done well. Soon you'll be fine." When she blinked, the vision was gone before she could thank him. This book is a must-read, as told by Peggy Ann Jackson. It is her own account of how God spoke to her and how she overcame the forces of evil in the mountains. It is an amazing account of survival and its aftermath over the course of a lifetime. Cry in the Wild: The Taking of Peggy Ann. This movie is available on YouTube. According to Peggy, it is accurate enough for entertainment purposes, but it is not a documentary and is not filmed in the Shade Gap area. She worked 4.5 months with the director. It is not suitable for younger children due to the language and violence which are part of the story. Sandy Ridge Market is along Route 522 in Orbazonia. Phil Nell, Ken's brother, was a former sales rep for C&S Wholesale Grocers and knows Brandon Brown, the owner. Peggy Ann does her grocery shopping there. Brandon held a book signing for Peggy Ann after her book, The Voice in the Mountains, was published. Brandon's uncle was the school bus driver for Peggy Ann and her siblings. We circle back to where the story began over 57 years ago. Here Peggy Jackson is talking to a reporter at the location on Hollow Road where she was kidnapped. A segment of a news interview is included on the next slide.
It's just etched in my brain. I'll never forget it. This is where it all began.
Peggy Ann Bradnick is standing in the spot where she was taken while walking home from her bus stop with her brother and sisters over 57 years ago.
This is the tree that he come jumping out onto the road from.
She remembers hearing her father shouting out, crying as he searched for her.
I want my daughter. It was the only way in the world to get her.
I heard Dad just scream into the top of his lungs in a voice that I never heard before.
The killer threatening her to not make a sound.
And he said, you answer him and your head gets blown off. And he stuck that gun right here. And then he stuck another gun in my mouth. And he said, you answer him and you die.
Her kidnapping made national news, and at the time was the largest manhunt in U.S. history.
Some 400 men, most of them armed, have joined in the search for Peggy Ann Bradnick.
She was taken by ex-convict and former mental health patient William Hollenbaugh.
Police say descriptions of the kidnapper seem to match that of a sniper who has plagued the area. Local residents call him the Mountain Man.
Hollenbaugh kept Peggy as his prisoner for 8 days, chained to his side. An attack that Peggy says he thoroughly thought out.
The missing girl is 5'2", 118 pounds, has dark brown hair and blue eyes. She was wearing a red jumper, a white blouse, and suede shoes.
He planned it. He had acted out on it for 3 years. I was like the 5th or 6th person that he attempted to abduct. And he watched me for 3 years. He made that very known to me.
What are some of those key things that you remember about him?
He was very, very violent, and he was a killer. He truly was. He had no compassion, none whatsoever. And I was a human shield for him, always first, always first.
After those 8 long days, walking more than 100 miles barefoot with little food or water, Peggy Ann was safely rescued near burnt cabins. Her kidnapper, William Hollenbaugh, shot and killed, but not before he managed to shoot and kill FBI agent Terry Anderson. You never thought to fight back?
Yes, I thought about it, but it wasn't feasible, and I knew that. Acting out at that point with him after I'd seen so many horrible things that he had done was not an option.
Surviving with only minor cuts and bruises, the emotional scarring is what's left. However, Peggy hasn't let this situation define her. In fact, through her faith, she's made peace with it.
I've always wished that things could have been different. And that I mean that Hollenbaugh could have survived. I know people would say, that's crazy, why do you think that? And I always felt that if I could have just had the opportunity to let him know that someone truly cared, maybe his life would have been turned around.
Peggy Ann was coming home from school one day with her brothers and her sisters when a man stepped out on the road. Now the man wore a mask and he carried a gun, and he grabbed Peggy Ann before she could run. But why he took that girl, why nobody knows. 8 days at Shady Gap, Peggy Ann could not get back because the mountain man took her away. And 8 days she had to stay, Peggy Ann. Now the state police and the FBI started to search in the hills nearby, but that mountain man, why, he was always one step ahead. He hid in caves and he ate out of cans. He knew those hills like the back of his hand, and everyone thought that little Peggy Ann was dead. 8 days at Shady Gap, Peggy Ann could not get back because the mountain man took her away. And 8 days she had to stay, Peggy Ann. Well, they finally cornered him at Rubeck's farm. He was crawling on a crossfire as he ran from the barn, and a bullet from a trooper's gun's what made him fall.
Well, he killed one man, and he wounded another, and his body was refused by his own brother. But little Peggy Ann, why, she wasn't hurt at all. And Peggy told her parents at the very end that all the mountain man wanted was to find a friend. 8 days at Shady Gap, Peggy Ann could not get back because the mountain man took her away.
Review the key locations on the map. The white line represents the power line. The yellow circle is the area of the cabin. The red circle along the power line is the kidnap location. The purple square is the Bradnick house. The blue square in the right center of the map is Pleasant Hill Church. The green circle close to the right border of the map is Shade Gap. Here is the headquarters for the manhunt at Harbor Memorial Park, and right across the road is Terry Anderson's marker where there is enough room to pull off the road. The orange square at upper center of the map is the mountain man's shack, which is no longer standing. The red circle right above it is where FBI agent Terry Anderson was shot and killed. There is a small marker there, but it is on private property. The purple circle at upper left is where Francis Sharp was wounded, and the red circle right under it is the Rubeck farm where Hollenbaugh was shot and killed.
Thank you for watching. Permission was granted from the publisher to use information and quotes from Peggy's book, The Voice in the Mountains, for this PowerPoint presentation, since it is for private and educational purposes. Credit is also given to the photos used from the book.